out of his shell. And it's funny, isn't it, Emily? I was on Twitter in the last 24 hours, and I've been holding a shield for Ilkay for about 18 months. And all of a sudden, everyone else is. It's funny that, isn't it? What's happened there, Emily? It was a good game yesterday, firstly. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, what the game yesterday?
Yeah.
What was the thing about 18 months? Sorry, I didn't hear
I
you.
was saying that the Ilkay has not been everyone's biggest fan
Oh,
over the last 18 months, and all of a sudden, the last couple of months, where people can actually watch him and see the quality that he brings to the team, and all of a sudden, he's got more fans than he had people slating him. So I don't know where all these people have come out of the woods from.
funny that, isn't it?
Very funny.
These fickle fans. Everybody loves a scapegoat and then they're singing his praises. But that's football for you, isn't it? For any football team. I mean, I don't want to just say it, but I have been one of his biggest fans for years now. I've been banging his drum for so long. I've stuck up for him even when he's took pelters on socials. But I just think he is a Rolls Royce of a footballer, honestly. And I just think he's so nice with it as well. You know, off the pitch, it's just the little things. He spends his birthday every year helping out at a charity, and he just goes above and beyond as a human being, and that helps a long way. I mean, everybody loves a bit of a bastard, don't get me wrong, but he is just a class act. And yesterday, oh my God, I mean, I'm still thinking about that first goal. I'm still thinking about the turn and the finish, because
Yeah.
his vision to do that and just to do the turn and then to just take the minute to look up, and it was just absolutely perfect. And I just watched it go in and I was like, I was so glad it was him.
Do you remember the game against United where we could have won the league by beating them, and he scored? I think it was the first or second goal for City, and he just turned the United team inside out. He has got that in the bank so much, hasn't he? Does he not play? Does he play too defensive for you? Do you think we could see more of him in more of an advanced position?
I think we're seeing the best of him now because he's playing on that left side of a three. When obviously we know why nobody could play in that spot previously. You know, that was Silver's spot, wasn't it? He played where Silver Gundogan would always make up another position in that three. Now he's like, I said this a few weeks ago, he's a guaranteed starter for me. He's one of the first names on the sheet.
100%. Yeah.
He epitomises Pep's style football in that midfield. Short, crisp passing movement and those little intricate forward runs that get him into those spaces and those finishes. We are seeing the best of him now. The Dortmund form that took him to us, and then the start of us, his career with us went especially that Barcelona match we talked about before.
Yes.
And then sadly his injuries, but now he's getting a run in the team. He's getting the minutes. You know, he's putting in performances, and yesterday he was absolutely brilliant. We talked about before.
Yes. What's your thoughts, Emily, on the game in general yesterday? Because it looks there's a spell of the first 10-15 minutes where we were a little bit under the cosh, a little bit slow to get off the pace, but when everything started to kick in, when the gears started to move forward a little bit, you could just see we're just going to push them aside. What was your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea what to expect going into it, because obviously I knew that we were on a 10-game unbeaten run, and everything that happened with the Everton game. I just feel like obviously we always take pelters in the press no matter what. The media always come down on us, but that was for me worse than CAS appeal day. The reaction post Everton to the cancellation. Anyway, I just felt like there was a massive pile on, and going into the game, I thought there's a little bit of pressure. We're going into a really big week. We've got Chelsea, we've got the United semi-final, and I just didn't really know what to expect. I knew that they had the potential to come at us with that front three and really test our defence and really push us. And I was quite looking forward to seeing how that would play out. But it didn't really happen, did it? Because I was also in the mind of Arsenal had took them to the cleaners a little bit, and Arsenal haven't been great. So I was a bit conflicted, because I thought they're there for the taking, but what do I expect from City? And yeah, after about 10 minutes, it was just like bam, and we just clicked into gear, into pace, and I just couldn't believe it. Like that kind of like 10-15 minute spell with the two goals, like it was just like bam, bam. We completely bamboozled Chelsea with the passing, the speed of passing play, especially down that left-hand side. We just completely opened them up. And I mean, fair play to Chelsea for sticking to their form of play and the way that the style of their play, because you can actually see why teams part the bus and set up the low block against us because they don't want to get torn apart like that, do they? They don't want to get absolutely passed to death and played straight through. And Chelsea stuck to the guns and they played like that. But you can see how other teams don't want to approach a game like that against us, and I do understand that. But it was just, for me, it was just so good to see us having that passing play, the speed, the pace in the attack. Foden being involved, Kevin De Bruyne obviously goes without saying some of his passing, but Foden as well being so involved. So he was like instrumental yesterday for me, and Gundogan as well. I mean, it's hard to kind of single players out yesterday because I think everybody had a good game. Like Bernardo was brilliant as well. So I just, like, at half time I was like, what have I just watched? Wow, it was just fantastic, wasn't it?
I had Dan, you okay, pal? Emily, you're absolutely spot on. I think me and Dan, as mentioned yesterday, that the midfield, the Gundogan, KDB and Foden just seemed to run the show yesterday. When those three tick, I find it very hard for any team to be able to beat us. When those three are on par, we're gonna be win more games than lose. How are we doing, Dan? You okay, pal?
Yeah, not too bad. Freezing my ass off, but
have you calmed down from the commentary yesterday?
The start of the morning was like the commentary start of the first half yesterday for me today. God, it's it's quite nice to sit back and enjoy what we witnessed yesterday. Really, it was sort of that experience, convincing win it in the first half, settle down and focus on the game on Wednesday and have a nice quiet second half. Albeit we conceded, but
I was so annoyed yesterday for about 15 minutes after the final whistle, and I shouldn't be. We won. It was a great win. Did you think, Brian? Because I said to Dan when we went 2-0 up yesterday, I said to Dan, the most important thing I want now is a clean sheet. I don't care if we scored another 4 or 5. If we get a clean sheet now, I think I'll take that as a win. And that goal in the last kick of the match was so frustrating, Brian. Do you think that's going to affect the players, or do you think they'll just brush that off and crack on?
You could hear him, couldn't you? Was it Stefan that said something? It was like, no, or something at the fight. You know, when he got in, he was gutted that he got in. You could tell that. And for the first time in years, clean sheets matter to this back four now. And I've not seen that since like Joe Hart was in there, where clean sheets meant so much to that guy. You could see it. So like, for me, it was. It's nice to see that passion at the back four and it being a solid cornerstone of what we are now. You know, so you've seen John Stones and Diaz high-five each other and Cancelo up and down the wing and that. Having this back four to build on now and having players that potentially can come into that back four as well. I mean, I feel really bad for Laporte, but how's he going to get in that team?
I think I said before, I find it very... Sorry, pal, say again.
About 7-8 weeks ago, he was our best defender. And now he's just going to have to do it, isn't he? It's just the way it is.
I find it very hard to feel sorry for somebody that earns that much money, if I'm brutally honest. But I know what you mean there. I really do know what you mean.
He's not done anything wrong, really.
He's not, and it's just John Stones has just stepped up massively.
Yeah, that's it. I think so far the highlight of the season for me is the renaissance of John Stones for that.
Is it 11?
It's like a new signing, really.
Is it 11? Emily, did you say before? Is it 11 games unbeaten now, or 10 games unbeaten?
Yeah, 11 games unbeaten.
11 games
and one
unbeaten.
of the best defensive records in Europe.
I think John Stones conceded 1 goal in like 11, 12 games or something. Is that right?
It's bonkers, isn't it? That's why they'll be so frustrated. I bet Ruben wasn't happy yesterday. I bet Ruben was even more frustrated and Stones from yesterday. Because when they could see the goal...
It's it, though. The transformation, like, from last season, we were all, like, talking last season about how much we miss Laporte, and the transformation to be so strong defensively without him, it's crazy, isn't it, really? And I do in a little way feel sorry for him. I'm with you, like, they earn a lot of money, so, you know, fair play to him, you know, crying into the Ferraris or whatever. But I don't know where his future's going to be. I mean, will he settle for being part of the rotation, or will he want, like, regular first team action? I guess only time will tell with it. But what a strong position for us to be in defensively, because we've gone from last season it really costing us to this season being so solid and formidable at the back.
Yeah, so Dan, we've moved into 5th place now in the table, 4 points off Liverpool and United with a game in hand, but we're still 5th in the table. I like that. I like that we're not right behind him. I quite like that we're kind of sneaking up somewhere with a win. How do you think we're going to fare? Because we've got a week or so now before our next league game. We've got 2 cup games on the bounce.
Yeah, 2 cup games. Yeah. Well, it's like I said to you yesterday. We this season so far, we've just always been on the back foot in terms of games. We've always been playing catch up this season so far, and the amount of times I message you lot about, oh God, all the teams around us are dropping points and we can't bloody play, and then playing last night and how well we did, and the 3 points and the goal difference gone up by 2. We win that game in hand. We are 1 point behind the top 2 with the best defensive record in the league. If we can start finding the back of the net with that defensive record, we are going to be shining sky high above the rest. I know the derby was an absolute dribble, but the return fixture, I think that was just a one-off. I think City are going to start finding the game form, the scoring form, defending form's been there since Ruben Diaz has come in. My love child, as you know. But going back to Laporte, I said to you last night, I'm as much as it hurts me to say, considering how much we missed him last season and a bit the season before, I would rather sacrifice Laporte for the good of the team, having 2 decent players in which we can build a solid foundation at the back. Granted, Laporte's not going to be happy, but like Emily said, what a great position we have that we can have one of the top centre-backs in the world to come back into that back 2 and fight for a place in front of 2 that are playing very well.
It's fantastic, and for me, defence and goalkeepers is a position we can't keep swapping and changing. If we have a side, and that's what I think that hindered us last season. Emily, what did you think? I'm sure you mentioned about this last season, Emily, where we did a lot of chopping and changing in defence, and that's not a good. There's no momentum behind that, is it? Has Pep actually seen the light with solid back 4, solid goalkeeper? Right, let's play and crack on. Obviously, Ederson didn't play yesterday. What's your thoughts on a solid back 4 compared to chopping and changing and potentially bringing Laporte in, dropping him out again?
I hope so. I mean, I do understand rotation in regards to, like player fitness and all the games coming so thick and fast. But I do think you need some consistency without a shadow of a doubt. I think it's so vital, it's so important for players' form as well, because players need to get form and gain form and stay in form. And I think that's what's been key for John Stones. Pep actually keeping the faith with him and giving him the chances. So he's built his confidence. He's allowed him to forge that partnership at the back with Diaz and build his confidence from there. And I think it's imperative moving forward that we do have that consistency in the back line. I don't mind changing fullbacks to suit, because I understand that, but keep the core at 2 at the back, because it's imperative that relationship that they've got now, touch wood that nothing gets in the way of that, no injuries or anything like that, but the relationship that they forged together now is key moving forward to this season. Touch wood that nil from the back, and that has been vital and instrumental in our form and maintaining the form, and the clean sheets have played the part in why we're on that 11-game unbeaten run.
Question for you. Is that left back position a position where Laporte could play? We've had Awis on YouTube mentioned. Brian, what's your thoughts on potentially? See the competition's there with Cancelo. I realise that, but if Walker got injured, Cancelo go to right back. What's your thoughts, Brian? Because surely Laporte can play right back as well. Left back, excuse me.
I think if you're just going to try and shoehorn him into the team just for games, I don't think that's a good idea. You saw yesterday how much having a competent left-sided player in Zinchenko. He played well yesterday. Having somebody who can play there, it's their natural position to play on that left-hand side. I'd rather have somebody play there than have a defensive-minded centre-half playing there who's just in there to get games. He'll get games this season. He'll get plenty of games. And it's just, I was going to pose a question to you three then, like, what do you think our second-best defensive pairing is? I mean, I think it's quite obvious we know what the best pairing is, but who is the second best pairing out of those 3?
Well, me, Laporte and Ake.
So you wouldn't even put, like, I mean, all I'm saying is if Stones and Diaz are playing together, one of those has to miss out for injury. Who's the best to play with that? So I mean, is
Laporte and Diaz?
Is it Laporte and Diaz or Laporte and Stones? I mean, I think Diaz.
That's the luxury, though. We can't even decide because they're playing that well. That's the luxury which we've lacked with.
Diaz has shown his versatility. He can just play his left-sided centre-back, and you wouldn't even know he was. That's his natural position. But obviously, he can slide into the right-hand side with Laporte. So having having that as a conundrum to play with, I think playing him on the left hand side of the back four, I just don't think it's fair, really.
When's Edison back in contention? Do we know? Does anyone know?
I guess we'll probably be any time after the game at weekend against Birmingham.
Would he play this weekend? Because I don't know when because it's 10 days, isn't it, or 2 weeks, isn't it, from one...
10 days, isn't it now? Well, to be fair, with this new variant, you don't know. Anything could happen right now.
I think we've got United on Wednesday, which we'll talk about in a bit, and then we've got Birmingham on the Sunday. There's a very good chance Stefan's going to get a good 2 matches under his belt there, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, a bit of a dodgy start, wasn't it, for Stefan in the first couple of minutes? That pass, bless his socks. You must have felt a bit sorry for him.
I felt for him because it was like a brain fart, wasn't it? You could just see it, and he realised as he's looking around, he picked the ball up, he was kind of what have I done, and then he's like, oh no. Yeah, it was a brain fart, but I am a fan of him. From what I've seen of him so far, I think he's more than capable. Obviously, he's American #1, so that's no mean feat, and I want to see more of him. I'm glad that we've got the opportunity now that we actually can see what he has to offer, and you know, because Edison's Edison. He's absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to slight him, but it's nice to have that opportunity, and I don't fear him in the derby whatsoever. I think he's more than capable, and especially with the defence in front of him as well.
I had a question from Ryan Askew. Do we think Mendy's done now at City? Because Pep came out yesterday, said quite defending him really. Brian, what's your thoughts on Mendy? What would you, if you were in Pep's shoes, what are you doing?
If I was in Pep's shoes, obviously you're not gonna absolutely hang him out to dry in public. But behind the scenes, I don't think he could be any more disappointed, really. You know, how many more opportunities does this guy want? He's had the racial thing. He's had all sorts of stupid things on Twitter. It's one thing after another. We don't need this one little negative thing after another with one player. It's enough to say he's not competent. He's banking for his service. Send him off.
Super Mario Part 2.
I hate to talk about City players like that. I hate to put a City player down, but he's been is this his 4th season now? Is it his 4th season?
There's no smoke without fire with negativity, and there's been so much, hasn't there?
You know, I mean, we've stuck by him. We've given him plenty of opportunities to come back from his 2 major injuries, and he's doing things like that. And especially with the way COVID is, and you expect these people in these high-profile positions to, and not everyone's going to do it. There's not the first person to do it, and he won't be the last. But to step out of line like that, you know, and bring negativity to the club, and especially with the circumstances around it, which we don't know about, but I mean, if it's led to believe, it's not. We can all laugh and joke about it, but it's pretty serious, pretty stupid. You know, so, I mean, look, cut your losses, take your money, get him off the wage bill, bring somebody else and start again. There's definitely left backs out there who can get to our thing, and you would like to think that you get somebody who's got their head screwed on. You know, are we going to miss his jovial banter on social media? He's one of the lads, not really.
Yeah, it's not
doesn't bother me. It's nice to see, but enough's enough now. You know what I mean? What's the next thing that's going to happen? You know, he's been done for speed, he's done for car stuff. It's obviously
not just that. He's had his car impounded for no insurance and no vehicle tax.
We've had idiots like that play for a club in the past, and we're just needing to say, right, enough's enough. Time to go, lad.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of like supporting a player. As long as they're in a City shirt, then I'll support them and I'll back them. But how many chances, you know, and it's like Brian just said then, he's come back from injury a couple of times now. We stood by him, and I don't want to say that now we don't need him, that we can get rid, but it is kind of that situation that COVID and the situation now, and having such a high profile footballers, they have a responsibility as a role model. They have to do things by the book. Yeah. Anything, and I know it's only meant to be like a couple of people or whatever, but any kind of slip up, then it just brings more and more negative press to the club, and that is the last thing that we need, because we get pelters anyway. We just don't need it, do we? And
that's it, though, Emily. It's like, I mean, the slip-ups why you nip round to your neighbours for 10 minutes on Christmas Day to say hello, make sure you're all right. That's a slip-up that people can kind of get by, but the slip-ups in the proportions are in the media with potential with sex parties with agents, all this sorts of stuff, and we don't need it. We don't,
I was a bit baffled as to why he was on the bench. That didn't make any sense to me that he was sat on the bench. I know that we were short, but I mean, is that how loyal Pep was to him that he still wanted to include him on the bench and really not hang him out to dry?
I think maybe it was a lesson, like, you're just going to sit on the bench and I'm just going to ignore you. You're done.
Yeah.
Suffer. Come all this way, get out your bubble, come to ours, come down to London, sit there and suffer, mate.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
See what happens with him, but I mean, he has had a lot of chances and he does remind me a lot of Balotelli, and I work with Balotelli at the club and I'm not allowed to say about much about that, but yeah, quite an unpleasant character with everything said. So yeah, we'll just see what happens with him.
Well, before we start getting letters from the MCFC solicitors, we'll move swiftly on from that. Well, the thing is, Mendy's got 2 years left on his contract. 2 questions jump to mind straight away. Can we give him away? No. Will we sell him? Possibly. Who'd buy him? I don't know. He's not exactly leading the market values, is he, when it comes to performance of ability and actual playing performances, as well
That's
as off
the
the
problem as well, isn't it? Because it's like, who would buy him? Where would he go? What price tag would you put on him? I mean, it's a really difficult one.
I think we could get rid of him quite easily.
Do you think so?
I think you could loan him out to a team and say option to buy in a year's time, 18 million done. You pay half his wages and we'll just cut it there. So I think he's definitely suited to like the Italian league. I think he'd do well over there. Just nice, a bit of an easier living lifestyle over there, and let him go and play some football. Get him out of our club, because I mean, it's very rarely I will turn on a City player and say this and that, but to me, he's done now. That's it. How much more disrespect can you show us?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, we'll move swiftly on from that. We've got a big game on Wednesday night, Dan. We talked a little bit about this last night. The question is, do I bring my slippers and my pyjamas and are we just going to have a little nap halfway through a Manchester derby, or are we going to actually put a performance in and give them a damn good spanking that they deserve?
Performance again. It'll be the exact game style we played against Chelsea. Hopefully for full 90 minutes rather than 45. But we've got lads on that pitch now that, particularly Phil Foden. If Phil Foden doesn't start after the Chelsea game, then something's not right. That lad Zinchenko played his heart out. Stefan had a great game by that little slip up, which we all would have made. Even I said to you, I thought it was a forward ball by Chelsea that he picked up, and I was confused why it happened.
I think it was a deflection at the time, so I thought it was right. Yeah.
Just so many constant first team players like Bernardo Silva as well played the heart out, and they're going to have to do it again because there's not that many players coming back from the COVID situation that can fill that void. So the players that are going into that game, we're absolutely gunning for it to show, right, we're going to get to the final here because it's only one leg. We do this at the Swamp, we're through, final, we get to pick up that trophy hopefully and say, look, we beat Man United.
Let's remember that VAR is in contention for the game on Wednesday night as well. It's brought in.
So that United are going to have 3 penalties.
So how many penalties are incoming?
Penalties.
There's going to be something like that, isn't there? We can't get through this without something happening VAR wise on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Brian, big question for you is team wise. Are you picking the same team as what played against Chelsea, or are you making changes?
I think, going off that game on the weekend, you have to try and stick with that team. It would be the best team to start with, but knowing Pep, he'll probably make a change. I don't know whether or not is Jesus' COVID period up.
I'm really not sure. Not sure.
So if all we've got is the same squad to go with, the same 17, 18 players, and there's no other changes to make. It has got to be that same team.
Would you start Aguero?
I think we'd go with whoever plays centre forward on the weekend, do it again. I'd give Aguero, if he's got half an hour in him, I'd rather have him come off the bench and make an impact than struggle through 45 minutes and bring him off, and then we're stuck a bit then.
It's funny to see KDB in that forward position, wasn't it? He looked a bit I think that's potentially why he looked a bit quiet for the first 10, 15 minutes. Emily, what's your thoughts on the starting three? Was it 3 or 4 would play up front against United? Who would you start?
I'd probably stick with the same team as Chelsea and, like Brian said, introduce Serge as an impact sub and see if we need him, because I know it won't happen because Pep doesn't really do that, does he? He likes to spring a couple of surprises and yeah, but I definitely would. I just think Foden's energy is so important, and the passion, because I don't want to be in a situation where I'm watching a Manchester derby and they're all hugging it out. I mean, that's not what a Manchester derby's all about. Where's the fire? Where's the passion? We're all watching it. We're like, oh, come on, you know what I mean? And this is our competition, the Carabao. They'll know that it's our competition.
Absolutely.
They'll want nothing more than to knock us out of our competition and to knock us, you know, and we can't retain that again. They'll be gunning for us, and we've got to be so up for that game. We've got to really go into it. And I'm kind of thinking, oh, you know, come on, bring that passion. But then I'm thinking, oh well, I wanted that last time, and look what happened. It was so dull. But it can't be like that in a semi-final, surely.
Got to absolutely go through their throats. Awis on YouTube, thanks for this, Awis. He said Jesus is out of his corona period tomorrow, so it could be in contention.
That's interesting.
For me, I'd bench him. I'd play the same. I'd play a very similar team. I get a strong feeling we're going to see Fernandinho on Wednesday night starting. And I
hope so.
I'd love to see that. I just don't know in what position. And potentially it's the Rodri position, isn't it, if anything? Brian, what's your thoughts on that, pal?
With Rodri had a great game at the weekend. And one thing he saw in that game is he is a threat in the box.
Yes.
That header, I don't know how to keep a stadium, but it's not. He's had a few goals that's allowed with offside this year with headers and stuff as well. So I just don't ever see, if Rodri's fit to play, I don't see how he doesn't start every game.
Dan, remember before the Ballfest derby a few weeks ago, I said there's 2 players I want to see start this game. One's Foden and one's Bernardo Silva because of the energy, the passion, everything they bring to it. I'm going to repeat myself here. I would love to see them 2 start again. There's no reason why either of them shouldn't be starting either, is there?
Well, that game against Chelsea highlighted it. You know, we're lacking in the goal threat. You know, with them 2 starting, it was like a completely different attacking team. We were, as soon as we were on the ball, we pushed forward like a bat out of hell. And every time we went forward, especially in that first half, we looked like we were going to score. And most of the chances were coming from Foden, particularly. But Bernardo Silva's energy in stopping Chelsea from pushing forward, allowing City to win the ball. And then as soon as he's closed them spaces for Chelsea and City wouldn't back the ball, he's straight to the other end of the pitch trying to get in space and try and make a nuisance of himself. And they just feed off each other. And I'd love to know, I'd love to get into Pep's head and know why those 2 aren't starting as many games as they should be. I know a lot of people will say, well, you know, Sterling 30 goals last year, Jesus, his energy works well up front. Those 2 have got to start more games. And if they don't start in the derby, then there's something niggling in Pep that makes me think he doesn't trust either of them.
Dan, I don't think it is a trust thing. I just think Foden, as good as he has been, is probably our 4th best attacking player.
What, even after last night?
Yeah, I still think he had a good game.
I think he's at the games.
That's the issue you're gonna. I can counteract it with you saying he doesn't get as many games to show his potential in those positions. But there was a comment I made him about a few weeks ago how he doesn't understand the tempo of games yet. You know, doesn't understand how to exert energy in certain times in the game, and how I think that's quite evident. You can see that now. You've heard Pep mention that point. You can see that in his game. Last night was quite a mature performance. Gary Neville said something interesting about him and Azpilicueta. He said Azpilicueta's won World Cups and I've never seen him get turned inside out for pace like that in all his life. You know, and that just shows the sort of 30 he is. But that for me, if I don't think you got to think about a position for position. Sterling is our left-hand sided forward front player. Is Foden better than Sterling? No. We all like to think he could be, and yeah, everyone likes to put Sterling down because he misses chances. But in reality, Foden is not as good as Sterling, and that's not a big deal. Raheem Sterling is a world-class attacking player. So then on the other side of the pitch, you've got Mahrez or whoever plays out there. So for me, the only place that Foden never gets in is if Sterling's in the position that he's not playing regularly.
That's where the fault is, because it's not his natural position. Last season, I think it was Zagreb when he got a goal, when he was in the centre of the park. He was phenomenal in that centre of the park. As soon as he got it, when you say he doesn't know when to exert energy, especially tempo, for me, when he's in that centre, when he's in charge, he dictates the tempo. He is a one-of-a-kind type player. He hasn't had a chance to shine because the games have been in and out. It was only a second start since October.
What's his best position?
Centre midfield, attacking midfield.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He can't do it. He can do a job on the wing, but Phil Foden is a player that will pick the ball up in the centre of the park and get past 3 or 4 players and slot it in the back of the net. He can't do that out wide because he then has the whole defence blocking him. You stick him in that centre of the park with lads on the wide. He passes it out wide. He's sprinting through. He can make the runs. He's got that terrier type thing about him. He'll knock the ball out wide and he'll get in that box. But he can't do that if he's out on the wings because he's the one who's expected to have the passes fed to him.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
I knew you would.
I agree with Foden. I agree with your points about him. He should be playing more games. But where does he fit in this 11? It's not. Listen, we are arguably one of the top 3 teams in the world, right? And for Phil Foden not to be getting a game in that starting 11 every week, it's not the end of the world.
No.
He knows the value of getting in that team and playing games. We can't keep Gundogan out of the team. You can't keep Kevin De Bruyne out of the team. So that's 2 positions gone. And then you're thinking about where else can he play? Realistically, this season, the only time he's going to get games in that starting 11 is going to be out wide.
I think this is a really old conversation. I think this is a really old school mentality conversation that we'll have for a long time to come. I think we need to understand that football's a bigger picture game rather than just 1-11 players like it used to be in my dad's team. When my dad used to tell me they didn't have substitutes and stuff like that. They played with goalkeepers, played with leather wool gloves. I think we need to understand that Foden's going to get loads of games. Yeah. It's just up to Pep to choose the right formation, the right team on that day, and I think we're always going to understand that.
I think you've got to trust in the process.
Yeah,
you've got to have faith in the manager and trust in the bigger picture and trust in the process that he's going to get games. He'll make an incredible impact, and it's got to be the right games in the right positions. And I've loved him in the Champions League so far. I think he's been fantastic when he's played in the Champions League, and that's the way that Pep does it. And I don't mind that. A lot of people out there do. I do want to see him start the Manchester derby, but I did last time and he didn't.
Yeah, it's frustrating that.
We'll see what happens, but just purely because he's like a local lad and he's like got the passion for it. And we were severely lacking that last time. Nobody wants a repeat of that, and God, please, I cannot sit through that again. This is a semi-final.
Oh, can you imagine, imagine we went to penalties? Oh, no thank you. No thank you. No thank you.
No.
I've got a question for you, though. With Jesus, with the ability of Jesus to start, I've just put this question on social media. Does that mean Walker could start as well? And if he does that mean Zinchenko's back to the bench and Cancelo's moved out to the left-hand side, which is our strongest back 4 for me?
I hope not. I want them in my bet.
If Walker's fit, he plays. I think. Does everyone agree with that?
Yeah.
If we've got a fully fit team, who's the left back? Cancelo?
Got to be Cancelo at the moment.
Mini
team. He's playing incredible at the moment. He's all over the pitch, and you can see the run of games the impact he's having on him playing games in that team. Getting forward, he's making aggressive passes, he's making aggressive runs, and he's actually getting stuck in all over the pitch. He's turned into what Kyle Walker must. Kyle Walker's like mentality must be having a rub off on him in that club for his defensive side of things and his ability just to get forward and be ruthless with his pace and just absolutely every time forward, the right pass. We know Kyle Walker can't do that anymore all the time, but he must be saying to him all the time, "Yeah, you got to do this, mate. You got to do this. You got to wield at your feet. Yeah, keep going, lad." Having that sort of established international right-sided player like Walker as like having that impact. And what's Cancelo? Cancelo's only like 25, right?
He's only young. Yeah.
So, 26, 27, yeah.
I can't be that. I don't think he's in his late 20s. He's got to be 25.
He's about that. I'll have a gander.
No, I got it. I'm already on it.
But having that experience of Walker there, and then having Cancelo coming in, and then we don't miss Walker really when he plays on the right hand side. That's
26.
How good Cancelo has become.
26. Yeah. That's incredible, actually. He's a talent and a half. What a great player. Dan, we're going to have to delete a load of videos that we did about a year and a half ago when he first started playing for us.
Especially ones involving me.
Ah,
No, but mine were for a valid reason. He wasn't backing up the price tag last season, and he had the mentality of a 2-year-old, especially in that Oxford game. A breath of fresh air hit him. He went down holding his face like he'd been shot by a 12-gauge shotgun in his face from point blank. That was what peed me off. But you know me, I'm a stubborn bugger, but I always admit when I'm wrong, and I'm glad he's proven me wrong this season, and especially towards the end of last season. And I'm if it comes down to me saying a player's bad and he turns out to be an absolute world-class player, and I was wrong, I'll take that on the chin. But I'm very rarely wrong.
I said it was Stones. I said it was John Stones. Like, I remember there was a time when back in the day, everybody was slating Cumps, and I did a podcast, and I was the only person on the podcast who was like, nah, Cumps, like, he's stuck in a rut with injuries, but he'll come back and he'll do really well, and just stick with him. And they were like, nah, if he was a horse, he would have been put down by now. And I said, no. So I stuck by my guns, but with Stones, I did the opposite, and I was like, I just couldn't see a way back for him because I couldn't see Pep giving him the chance, because I just thought he was too error prone. He was too prone to making individual errors, and he took a while getting his confidence. He's like, he needs a confidence builder. He needs a run of games, and he's had that. And I'm so happy that he's proved me wrong, because I want nothing more than the best for players. And for John Stones to come back and be in that form, that everybody calls it this renaissance, and it is, and it's just fantastic to see that partnership now, because it looks indestructible, them two at the back. I think Diaz will be our captain.
Yeah.
And the two of them combined together, just so solid, and it's done wonders for Stones. Diaz coming into the club has just completely transformed him.
His captaincy mentality shot up as well. Last night especially, he, when Diaz was out of position, he was there telling the lads, right, look along the line, be there, back up, do that, pat on the back, well done, lads. He's completely transformed, and I don't like putting it down to one player, but it has to be Ruben Diaz, because he never shuts up. It's the joy of having no crowds in. You play the stadium effects. You hear Ruben Diaz just shouting at the top of his voice, but at the same time, it brushes us on Stones, because I've heard Stones talk for the first time, and it happens to be on a football pitch.
I think what Diaz is going to bring to us in a year plus is going to be absolutely vital, because in regards, going back to the quick gloss over Mendy's thing and the issues like that, we don't really have a vocal captain at the club.
Mm-hmm.
Since Company's gone, we don't have that guy who is Mr. Man City, head down, super professional. I mean, Fernandinho is head down, super professional, but he never's come across as somebody who is vocal, and you would think that as shoulders out and let's have it in a dressing room sort of stuff. You follow my lead. Don't really have that in anybody other than what I see now in Diaz. Is that he's in the dressing room. I'm not taking no. You can see him. I can just see him in the dressing room, pumped up and ready to go, and he's in there, and he's like, we're having this, you in a line. And you need that. You need that guy to grab people by the scruff of the neck and say, you're defending here. This is the line. Heads up. You need somebody who's talking all the time like that. And that is the one thing we're missing. And that is in 2 years' time. I think he has to be into that position. But if he gets a chance to grow into a club captain, you're talking somebody will be there 5-6 years at that level.
It's amazing to start talking like this, isn't it? God, can you imagine if we didn't assign Diaz, where we'd be now? Where we could potentially be? Granted, it could have linked with Laporte and Stones, actually. What do you say, Em?
Everybody's saying Tixie out.
Yeah.
Oh, ye of little faith.
They're always Tixie out. If we don't sign somebody, Tixie out.
Where's Laney when you need him?
People are so fickle.
If those rumours of signing like Koulibaly and that Jason Koundé were...
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
Imagine about those if those had come through and we missed out on Diaz and we were struggling at the back four and we was like, what's next? All these... Look, we're a team now that gets transfers right.
Yeah.
There might be one or two... 9 out of 10 are always right. You look at Rodri. People have slated Rodri, but look at him. He will be... fantastic footballer for 5-6 years to come. Same with Diaz. Same with Cancelo's coming in now. He'll be doing the same. You've got Bernardo Silva out of nowhere came in like that. These sort of players.
Definitely.
Right. So, what's your predictions, guys? I'm not nervous yet. Tomorrow will be my nervous day for this game. Emily, come on. Come on, Emily. Give it to me. What are we doing? How are we going to beat him?
I'm going 2-1 City.
Oh, it's a close one. I don't want
I
a
think
close
it'll
one.
be a close game. It's not going to be anything. I don't think it'll be anything like the Chelsea game. They set up different. But I'm just hoping we see that that fire and that passion, because it's so important. I want that trophy. That's our trophy.
Yeah.
I want it.
It is. You're right. It's for the last 5, 6, whatever it is. You know, this is our name's going to be halfway around the cup in a couple of years' time. Hopefully, with people keep looking at. Brian, what's your predictions, pal?
I'm going to say we're going to win on penalties.
Oh.
I've got a feeling it's going to go to penalties. It's going to be like 1 or 2 all. I've got a feeling we'll play well and something's going to happen. Maybe it's going to be a tough game.
I think there'll be some kind of VAR incident
In that game, which will go against it, it'll be tough. It'll be really tough. Maybe get down to 10 men, have a goal disallowed for something, give a penalty. Obviously, they're going to get a penalty. We know that. And it's lucky for us, Fernandes can only score 1 penalty in a penalty shootout. So I generally think he's going to go to penalties and we're going to win. That's my prediction.
Well, Brian Maloney is more like it on Facebook, going 10-0 City.
Could you imagine?
Neil Horrell 4-1. Nat, how you doing, Nat? 3-0 City. Come on, Dan. What are you thinking, pal?
2-0 win, 290+ minute penalties by VAR decision. No, 2-0 win. I'm going for 2-0 win. I think
really close. I mean, let's face it. Chelsea weren't at the races. We were 10 times better than them. They've not had a cracking last couple of games of Chelsea, so I am conscious about thinking we've just beat 99 United. So we haven't by any means. It's going to be a tough game, isn't it? They're going to bring everything at it, aren't they? They're going to bring everything at it.
The good thing going for us is we're the team that brings down these cocky teams. United are flying high above what their team really should be. I mean, everyone banging on about them being title contenders. Jesus Christ, I've got one player that's making the works for them in that Bruno Fernandes. When he's not in the squad, if he gets injured or he's just knackered and not at the races, United are poor. We've seen it this season. Somehow get him out the game, stick Fernandinho if he plays on him, crunching tackles, knacker him out. I'm not saying injure the poor lad. I'm not that bloody evil. Injure him. Just keep him at bay. United won't have a chance. Rashford, yes, okay, but he has on-off games. Martial, depends what side of the bed he's going to get out of, you know, if he wants to find the back of the net or not. We've got the defence. We're starting to find a bit of form in front. Why not? 2-0. Goal either half. Kevin De Bruyne has scored a second.
I think it's hard to write off a team that. Can you imagine when we were close to semi-finals and into winning cups, how hungry we were to win games, how hungry we were to win a semi-final. United need that. United are a hungry animal looking for a trophy under Solskjaer. They are a set of players that, some good quality players in there, some good young lads that they will be hungry. This tomorrow is for them is big. It's just as big as the final if they could get to it. So they are going to be up for it. They ain't going to be playing like they did the first game. They are going to be at it from the first minute. They will be putting pressure on our back four like Chelsea did last night. They will be hungry for this, because if they're not, we'll just walk straight through and then it'll just be a waste of time. But
that's why we've got to be like that. We've got to have that mentality of going in there and going at them straight away. Go at them, because we've got to have that passion.
But they are going to be up for it, because
Yeah.
they know it's a one-legged game and all they have to do is win and they're in a final.
At least it can't be a draw.
At least it can't be a draw. Yeah. Is there any worry from you guys that Pep is going to do his Mr. Tinkertastic and just change 6 picked players? Is there anything there to say that he's going to make no wholesale changes?
What I'm going to say no is because he hasn't got the players to bring in. If he had a full squad, I'd be extremely worried that we'd be seeing 5 changes from the weekend and would struggle. But at the minute, our hand is forced. We have 14 fit senior players, really.
Well, let's face it, for the substitutes bench from the game on Sunday with Aguero, Mendy, Fernandinho, Mahrez, Carson, Delap, Howard, Bellis and Mbet. So potentially Walker and Jesus to come back.
3 of those that I could have got on the pitch at the weekend anyway.
You wouldn't be surprised if either of them played, would you? That's the thing. We've got a strong team, guys. Come on, boys. I'm a little bit nervous now. What did I say a minute ago about me not being nervous? Just a quick few bits of news before we go. Brian, thank you for mentioning. City's women's team has tested, some members of the team, haven't they, Brian, tested positive for COVID? What, does anyone know? Has anyone heard anything else about that? I know that's breaking news.
No.
So
it's just five of the women's first team had tested positive for COVID today.
I wonder if they went to Mendy's party. And do you think the potential... Oh, Dan, don't be like that. Do you think the potential of a lockdown announcement tonight could put a hammer in our season running? Do we think that the potential of a lockdown that Mr. BJ is going to be doing tonight could hinder the season again? Emily, what are you thinking?
Well, what do you mean in terms of...
Could they cancel football for a
going?
month? Yeah, could they put football on hold a month? Could they stop football fully?
You can do... Yeah, he's got the power to do that, and there are rumours that there will be some kind of sport lockdown, but I'm not sure. I don't think it'll. I think it might be lower leagues. I'm not 100%. It's all rumours, isn't it, until we get to the press conference? But it's such a hard one, isn't it? Because it's health and wealth. How dangerous is football to carry on in the current climate where they're going the length and breadth of the country into, well, different tiers, but we're all going to be in the same tier by the sounds of it tonight. How dangerous is it?
Can I ask? I'll rephrase the question. If you were Boris Johnson, and if this tier 5 is potential coming up there, would you cancel football completely for till the end of January? How many would and how many wouldn't are you three?
If I'm honest, I would.
Yeah.
It's getting a bit... I don't like to see it because football's one of them, especially for mental health. It's an escape.
Yeah.
You know, most of the population likes football. You lose a game, your heart breaks, but you're up for the next game. And, you know, unless you're one of the bottom teams, you lose the game thinking, oh, we can take on the mighty City next and nick a draw or a win. Football is a health thing, whether anybody likes it or not just playing it. I mean, for the mental state of mind. But at the same time, if players are in and out through COVID, especially with City, I think Fulham are another club that are having games now starting to be cancelled. We've got plenty of players now. Newcastle recently. The games are getting suspended left, right and centre, and they can't keep on top of it in the football clubs where COVID restrictions are massive. They've got only first team bubbles and they're still getting it. There has to be a circuit breaker as such, and I do think it would be for the best. I don't want to see it, but for the great, we've got to remember football players are people at the end of the day as much as we like watching them play football. So it's for the greater good.
Brian, is there something to be said about, obviously it's the players get tested an awful lot, that's why they've picked these up. We've all been through a festive period where people see people that potentially shouldn't and done things they potentially shouldn't, which has caused these outbreaks to come across. Obviously, we all had Christmas Day to share within 3 households, if memory serves me right, which is potentially what some people did, and that's why it's got that resurgence has come through. If that's the case and they get back to normal as they were at the beginning of December, after 2 or 3 weeks, surely that would surpass now to being back to the stage where not as many people are getting it. What do you think?
I mean, the amount of money that is in the Premier League, especially, I think the amount of testing that goes on, I think it's probably the safest elite sport there is. You know, and it falls under the government guidelines of elite sports, and elite sports are going to be allowed to continue. I don't think if you're thinking about maybe knocking it there for 2 weeks, what are these people going to do for 2 weeks? They're going to come into the training. They're going to do something. It's not like it's going to make much of a difference. I would carry on with it. I would carry on as things are, with considering that if more and more teams start to develop COVID outbreaks, then that's when you think there's been 3 teams that have had COVID outbreaks now. If next week 2 more teams go down with COVID outbreaks, then and more players are testing positive, then I don't think there is an alternative to saying.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they wait. I think professional football is a different standard to
it's the
walk into
safest.
the shop. Yeah, I agree. I'd give it a couple of weeks.
It's form sport we can do, and people are being tested in the bubbles, and they can afford to do these tests, and they can afford to stay in these hotels and these safety bubbles. You know, I think it has to continue.
Right. On that note, we're going to love you and leave you. Massive game on Wednesday, guys. Question for Brian and Emily that I asked Dan last night. If you could only win 1 game, either against United or Birmingham in the FA Cup, who would you rather beat?
Oh, United.
God, Brian, what are you thinking?
How can they How can you choose anything other than United?
It's got to be United, hasn't it? Come on, Blue boys.
It's our cup.
This is our cup. Well, blue ribbons, please. Stick them on with glue. Thank you. All good. Right, lovely to see you guys. Thank you for everyone watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope on Twitter, and everyone else on Facebook. Love you lots. Dan, are you doing a game on Wednesday night?
I'm doing them for as long as they're on TV, pal. Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
I'm not shying away from this one.
Brilliant. Good. I'm going to go come and annoy you. Can't wait. Cheers, guys.
More
See you
than
leave you. Have a lovely evening. See you soon, Blues.
Take care.